Welcome to English Grammar 2, Unit 51. Auxiliary verbs have, do, can, etc. And the answer, I think so and hope so, etc. I hope so, etc. First of all, if we speak of verbs in English, we can think of two main kinds of verbs, main verbs and auxiliary verb, or what is called helping verbs. Main verbs like tenses in the present simple or in the past simple. For example, we can say play and plays. I play football every day. He plays football every day, or she plays football every day. Here we have the main verb play and plays. In the past simple, we say I played football yesterday, he played football yesterday, they played football yesterday, and we played football yesterday. Here the verb played. It is a main verb here. We have other tenses which include main verb and auxiliary verb and main verb. For example, we have a present continuous, am is are plus verb plus ing. I am playing football now. He is playing football now. They are playing football now. And past continuous, we were playing football yesterday at 10 o'clock. They were playing football yesterday at 10 o'clock. I was playing football yesterday at 10 o'clock. And we have other forms of verbs, tenses. For example, we have present perfect simple and present perfect continuous and past perfect simple. Present perfect simple, I have played football, he has played football, and I have been playing football. He has been playing football, present perfect continuous, and I had played football, and they had played football, past perfect. If we look at the present continuous and past continuous, we will find the verb starts with am is are in the present continuous. These are auxiliary verbs. And was and were in the past continuous. These are auxiliary verbs derived from the be, the verb to be. And if we look at the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous, we find have, has, and had. Have and has are used for the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous, and had is used for the past perfect simple and past perfect continuous. So we have here main verbs and auxiliary verbs. Let's have the part of auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs can be divided into many kinds. First, verb to be, auxiliary verbs or helping verbs derived from the verb be. And we have it am is are, was and were and been. These are called verb to be. And we have verbs to have derived from have. We have the verb have and has and had used as auxiliary verbs. Then we have verbs derived from do, does, did. And then comes the modal auxiliary verbs like can, could, shall, should, will, would, may, might, must, etc. We can go back for verb to be. We have certain forms of sentences. For example, subject plus auxiliary verb plus adjective or subject plus auxiliary verb plus noun, and the adjective here and noun are called complements. In this form, we can say, for example, he is happy, and happy here is an adjective. It is subject complement, adjective for the subject, he. We can say he is Ali, and here Ali is subject complement. It defines he, the pronoun he, and both the adjective and noun came after the auxiliary verb or the helping verb is. Okay. Similarly, we can use am and are. I am happy, or I am Ali. They are happy, for example. We can say they are Ahmed and Muhammad. And this is one form. In other forms, we use am is are and was and were in tense, in present continuous and past continuous. We have already given examples. For example, I am teaching English grammar now. He is studying English grammar now. They are studying English grammar now, or we are studying English grammar now. And here the helping verb is used before the verb plus ing to form the present continuous. We can use was or were to express past continuous. For example, he was studying English yesterday at 10 o'clock. I was studying English yesterday at 10 o'clock. They were studying English yesterday at 10 o'clock, or we were studying English yesterday at 10 o'clock. Or we can say, I was studying English when he knocked at the door. We were studying English when she knocked at the door, or when she arrived. On the other hand, we have examples for have, has, and had. Have and has are used in the present perfect. I can say, I have studied English grammar. He has studied English grammar, or she has studied English grammar. I had studied English grammar. This is past perfect. They had studied English grammar. We had studied English grammar. We can use a present perfect continuous and past perfect continuous as well, and say, I have been studying English grammar. He has been studying English grammar, and they had been studying English grammar. This is used for past perfect continuous. In the case of the auxiliary verbs of do, does, and did, these are used in negative sentences and in questions. I don't play football every day. Here it is used for present simple to negate, and it is followed by the base form. I don't play football every day. He doesn't play football every day. This is negative sentence as well. Or she doesn't play football every day. Okay. And in the past simple, we say, I didn't play football yesterday. He didn't play football yesterday. They didn't play football yesterday, or she didn't play football yesterday. This is for negative sentences. They are used as well in the positive sentences, but in case of questions, to form questions. For example, we say, do you play football every day? Does he or she play football every day? Did he play football yesterday, or did you play football yesterday? And in all these cases, we use, after the auxiliary verbs do, does, did, we use as well the base form as in the negative sentences. We use the base form of the verb as in the negative sentences. In case of modal auxiliary verbs, can, could, shall, should, will, would, may, might, must, etc., they are followed by the base form. I can speak English. I can drive a car. I could swim when I was a child, or I couldn't swim when I was a child. We shall visit you tomorrow. You should go to the doctor. It will rain tomorrow. I will buy you the book tomorrow. Would you like to have some coffee? May I come in? He might leave tomorrow. I must take the medicine. In all these cases, we use the modal auxiliary verb followed by the base form. Let's see part A here. In part A, we have some examples in the table. In each of these sentences, we have sentences in the table. In each of these sentences, there is an auxiliary verb and a main verb. Let's see. I have lost my keys. We have here the auxiliary verb have, and lost is the main verb. It is in the past participle. And the complete form of the verb is present perfect. In the second sentence, she can't come to the party. Can't is a modal verb, and come is the base form, and it is the main verb that comes after the modal verb. In the third example, we have the hotel was built 10 years ago, and here the verb form is in the passive, in the past, in the passive form, and in the past we have was as an auxiliary verb, verb to be in the past, and singular we have was, and built is the past participle of the verb built, of the main verb build. Okay, and the last one is a question here. Where do you live? And here do is the auxiliary verb because we have a main verb live and the main verb live. So it becomes where do you live? It is a question. So we use do, does, did in questions. In these examples, have and can't and was and do are auxiliary verbs, or what is called helping verbs. You can use an auxiliary verb when you don't want to repeat something. Here we mean it in answering questions or in compound sentences. For example, we have the first example here. Have you locked the door? It is a question. Yes, I have. This is an answer by another person, means yes, I have locked the door. But here, in order not to repeat, the person omits the rest of the sentence and writes the auxiliary verb here only, have. So the person says, yes, I have. In the second example, we have George wasn't working, but Janet was. And here, the second part of the compound sentence, after but, it is but Janet was working. And in order not to repeat, the person wrote here was only, and the part which is repeated working is omitted. The third example, she could lend me the money, but she won't, means she could lend me the money, but the second part of the compound sentence, but she won't lend me the money. And here, lend me the money is repeated, so it is dropped. So the person here used only the auxiliary verb. So the second part became like this, but she won't. She plus the auxiliary verb want. Use do, does, did for the present and past simple. We use do, does, did for present and past simple. For example, do you like onions? This is a question, and here we use do for the question, and it is in the present simple. So what is the answer here by the other person? The answer is yes, I do, means yes, I like onions. And in order not to write like onions, the person wrote yes, I do. The person here used the auxiliary verb do. Does Simon live in London? This is a question, and the answer came by the other person here says he did. And notice one thing, that did is not the answer of this question, because the question started with does. This part he did is a comment, but our real answer is coming in the next part of the sentence. He did, but he doesn't anymore, means he doesn't live in London anymore. So the answer here is in the second part, and it is he doesn't anymore, means he doesn't live in London anymore. And in order to not to repeat live in London, so the speaker here dropped the part live in London and wrote he doesn't anymore. You can use auxiliary verbs to deny what somebody says. Say it is not true. To say it is not true. To deny something. To deny something. For example, here the first speaker says, you are sitting on my place. The other person says, no, I am not. Means, no, I am not sitting in your place. And sitting in your place is repeated, so it is dropped. So the person says, no, I am not, without completing the rest, because the rest is said in the first sentence. So no need to repeat it. The second example here is, you didn't lock the door before you left. The first person says, you didn't lock the door before you left. The other person says, yes, I did, means yes, I locked the door. And in order not to repeat locked the door, the person said, yes, I did. Use the auxiliary verb did only to answer. Here it is somewhat a matter of contraction, or this is what is called diction in English. In diction, there is a rule says that if you can express your idea with 2 words, don't use 3 words. That's why they use the contractions here. They drop the repeated parts in order to keep the language interesting. Let's move to part B. Part B, we use have you, isn't she, do they, etc. to show interest in what somebody has said or to show surprise. So we use it similar, it is similar in form to the question tag, but it is not a question tag because here this part is used by another speaker, by another person, not by the same person who says the first statement. No, it is separate, it is completely said by someone else. And here this part is used to express interest and to express surprise. Let's see the first example here. I have just seen Simon. The other person says, oh, you look here, you have full stop and you have quotation marks up, two commas up in the beginning and at the end. And the other person, here we have a quotation mark to show that these are the words of another person. And the other person says, oh, have you? How's he? And here the person shows interest. How the person here shows interest. In the second sentence or the second example, the first person says, Liz isn't very well today. The other person says, oh, isn't she? And mind one thing, you look in the first example, the first sentence, I have just seen, a positive sentence, and the question is positive. Have you or have you? And in the second example, Liz isn't very well today, and here the first sentence is isn't, the verb is negative, isn't very well today. And the other speaker says, oh, isn't she? It is negative as well. The question here is negative as well. So the first statement by the first person is positive and the question is positive. And the first statement by the first speaker is negative and the question by the second speaker is negative as well. Same form, positive, positive, negative, negative. What's wrong with her? Here the person expresses surprise. In the third example, we have it rained every day during our holiday. And here we have past simple. Someone might say we have here every day, but here every day when in the past, during our holiday in the past, when we were in the holiday. The other person says, did it? What a pity. So here the other person shows surprise. And here the verb rained, past simple positive, and the question is in the past simple using did, and it is positive as well. The fourth example, we have Jim and Nora are getting married. Are they? Really? Here we have are getting married and the verb here is in the present continuous used for the future and it is positive here. So the question here is positive. Are they really? And here the person shows interest as well. Now comes part C. In part C, we use auxiliary verbs with so and neither. I am feeling tired. If I want to express the same thing to say that I am feeling tired also, then we contract it and we can say so am I. The other person says so am I. And here if you look at the arrangement you will find it am I, auxiliary verb then subject, and this form is the form of a question, but a question mark is not used here. Means so am I means so I am feeling tired too. And to contract all these words, and we can say it in this way. So am I. We use auxiliary verb before the pronoun. It is the form of a question, but we don't use a question mark. And the statement I am feeling tired is positive. So we use so am I, and it is positive here as well. The second example, I never read newspapers. I never read newspapers. Here we use a present simple, and it is negative here. We use never. It is negative. So in the to say the same thing, the person says, neither do I. Neither do I. And here neither is used for the negative. So the first statement is negative. So the second part is negative, neither do I, and we have also here the arrangement of a question, but we don't have a question mark. We have do auxiliary verb before the pronoun, before the subject. In the third example, Sue hasn't got a car and neither has Martin. Means Sue hasn't got a car. This is a negative question. So that a negative statement, sorry. So the other part says neither, the same thing, neither, because the first part is negative. So the other part used neither has Martin. And we have here has before the subject Martin. We use the auxiliary verb here. Note the word order after so and neither. Verb before subject means the question form, but without a question mark. Because it is not a question, it is a statement. For example, I passed the exam and so did Paul. Here we use did before Paul. We use the auxiliary verb before the subject to say that we did the same thing. So we don't say so Paul did. No. The auxiliary verb must be used before the subject. That's why it is said so did Paul and full stop. Instead of neither, you can use nor. Here we can replace neither by nor and use the same form. And we can also use not plus neither, but plus either. If we use either, then we use not. We use the negative form and the sentence form. So we can say here, for example, I don't know. The other person says, neither do I. Here after neither, we use the auxiliary verb, then the subject. This is a question form, but without a question mark, because it is a statement. Or we can replace neither by nor, and we use the same form. So we can say, nor do I. We can say, nor do I. And here, do is used before the subject, and it is this form is the question form, but we don't use question mark because here it is a statement. If we use either, then we use the sentence form. We say I don't either. Here we say I don't either. Here with either we use the sentence form. We start with the subject, then the negative auxiliary verb in the negative, then we use either. So it becomes I don't either. Next comes part D. In part D, we speak about the answer. We speak about the answer using I think so and I hope so, etc. I think so and I hope so indicates that there is a statement and we use the contraction. We replace the whole number of words by using the word so. After some verbs, you can use so when you don't want to repeat something. For example, are those people English? This is a question by one person. The other person says, I think so. I think so means I think they are English. So instead of writing they are English, we replace the three words by using so. So we can say, I think so means I think they are English. So I think so is used for contraction. And the second example, will you be at home this evening? The person says, I expect so means I expect I will be at home this evening. And so to replace I will be at home this evening, we used so instead of all the sentence. So it becomes I expect so. The third example, do you think Kate has been invited to the party? This is a question. The other person says, I suppose so. Means I suppose that Kate has been invited to the party. And Kate has been invited to the party is replaced by the word so for contraction. In the same way, we say, I hope so, I guess so, and I'm afraid so. For the forms, look at this part. The usual negative forms are, okay, we have here the positive form and the negative form on the other side. I think so and I expect so. These are positive answers. To make the negative answers of I think so and I expect so, we use I don't think so and I don't expect so. In the second part, we have here I hope so, I am afraid so, and I guess so. And in this case, the negative form of these three sentences become like this. Becomes like this. I hope so is positive. The negative, I hope not. I am afraid so. The negative, I am afraid not. I guess so. The negative, I guess not. So here we used not directly after the verb, but we didn't use here, we don't use here the auxiliary verb don't. And in case of suppose so, when we say I suppose so, the negative form can be of the two previous forms. Either we use the auxiliary verb don't and it becomes I suppose so becomes I don't suppose so, or we use not directly after the verb and it becomes I suppose not. So the case of suppose takes the two previous forms together. For example, here we have, is that woman American? I think so in the positive answer. If the answer is negative, we say, I don't think so. Do you think it will rain? The person says, I hope so, or I hope not. Here, the negative is I hope not. We don't say I don't hope so. And if the answer is suppose, then we say I suppose so, or If it is negative, we can say I don't suppose so, or I suppose not as well. That's all. Thank you.